Vairocana Buddha, the cosmic Buddha within and around us. Hello and welcome to one of the most profound and transformative teachings in all of Buddhist philosophy, the understanding of Vairocana Buddha, as presented in the Avatamsaka Sutra. Today we'll explore a vision of enlightenment that is both cosmic in scope and intimately personal, both transcendent and completely accessible in your daily life. If you've ever wondered what it means to live in the presence of the sacred, if you've ever sensed that there might be a deeper intelligence and love-permeating existence that you could learn to recognize and embody, then the teachings about Vairocana Buddha offer extraordinary insights and practical guidance. Vairocana Buddha is not just another religious figure from ancient history, but represents something universal and eternal that is always available to you regardless of your cultural background or religious beliefs. The name Vairocana means illuminator or great sun, pointing to a kind of awareness that illuminates all experience with wisdom and compassion, much like the sun provides light and warmth that enables all life to flourish. What makes Vairocana Buddha particularly relevant for our modern world is that this teaching reveals how the highest spiritual realization is not separate from ordinary life, but is actually the deepest truth about every moment of experience you're having right now. The cosmic Buddha is not dwelling in some distant heaven, but is present as the very awareness in which you're reading these words, the intelligence that enables you to understand their meaning, and the love that connects you to all life. Today we'll discover how recognizing Vairocana Buddha can transform your understanding of yourself, your relationships, your work, and your place in the cosmos. We'll explore how this ancient wisdom offers both comfort for life's challenges and inspiration for discovering your highest potential. And we'll learn practical ways to cultivate the kind of awareness that can recognize the Buddha nature that pervades all existence, including your own deepest being. This isn't about adopting new beliefs or performing religious rituals, but about awakening to what spiritual traditions say has always been present, but is usually hidden by our habits of inattention and self-concern. The cosmic Buddha represents nothing less than the possibility of discovering that reality itself is awake, intelligent, and filled with unconditional love for all beings. When we speak of Vairocana Buddha, we're pointing towards something that transcends the historical Buddha Shakyamuni who lived in India 500 years ago, though it includes and encompasses his realization. Vairocana represents what Buddhism calls the Dharmakaya, or truth body of Buddha, the cosmic principle of enlightenment that underlies and pervades all existence. The name Vairocana comes from the Sanskrit root viruk, which means to shine forth or to illuminate. Just as the sun illuminates the entire solar system without discrimination, making life possible for countless beings, Vairocana Buddha represents the universal enlightenment that illuminates all consciousness and makes awakening possible for every being throughout the cosmos. In the Avatamsaka Sutra, Vairocana is described as being seated in the center of an infinite lotus flower, with each petal containing entire universes filled with beings who are learning and growing and awakening. This image suggests that enlightenment is not a personal achievement that belongs to particular individuals, but is the fundamental nature of existence itself, expressing itself through countless forms and manifestations. This cosmic Buddha is not a deity that exists separate from you and that you worship from a distance, but represents the deepest truth about the nature of consciousness and reality. Vairocana Buddha is the awakened nature of awareness itself, the intelligence and love that underlies all thinking and feeling, the peace that is present even in the midst of apparent chaos and confusion. From one perspective, Vairocana Buddha represents what you truly are, beneath all the layers of conditioning, identity, and personal history that usually define how you think about yourself. Your thoughts, emotions, sensations, and experiences are like waves arising in the ocean of cosmic consciousness, real and meaningful, but not separate from the infinite awareness that contains them all. This understanding can be both humbling and liberating. Humbling because it reveals that what you usually consider to be your thoughts and your experiences are actually expressions of a universal intelligence that transcends individual identity. Liberating because it means you have access to wisdom, love, and peace that are not limited by your personal history, current circumstances, or psychological patterns. The great Indian philosopher Nagarjuna, who deeply influenced the development of Avatamsaka philosophy, taught that emptiness and interdependence reveal that all phenomena, including individual consciousness, lack independent, permanent existence. But rather than leading to nihilism, this recognition opens the possibility of recognizing that what you are most fundamentally is not separate from the cosmic Buddha nature that pervades all existence. Contemporary neuroscience has made discoveries that resonate remarkably with this ancient teaching. Research on what scientists call the default mode network in the brain shows that much of what we consider to be our individual self is actually a construction created by particular patterns of neural activity. When these patterns quiet down through meditation or other contemplative practices, people often report experiences of expanded identity and connection to something larger than their ordinary sense of self. Studies of advanced meditators have shown that sustained contemplative practice can lead to what researchers call persistent non-symbolic experience, where the sense of being a separate observer of experience dissolves and there's just pure awareness that doesn't need to be filtered through concepts of self and other. These findings suggest that the mystical experiences described in texts like the Avatamsaka Sutra might not be fantasy, but point to genuine possibilities for human consciousness. But what does recognizing Vairocana Buddha mean for your practical daily experience? First, it can help you understand that you're never actually separate from a source of wisdom and love that can guide you through any difficulty. When you're facing challenges that seem overwhelming, you can remember that these situations are arising within cosmic consciousness that has unlimited creativity and compassion for finding solutions. This doesn't mean that problems solve themselves without effort, but it does mean you can approach difficulties from a place of fundamental confidence rather than panic or despair. You can trust that the awareness that contains your problems also contains the intelligence needed to address them skillfully. Second, recognizing Vairocana Buddha can transform how you relate to other people. Instead of seeing others as separate individuals who might help or threaten your interests, you can begin to recognize them as other expressions of the same cosmic consciousness that you are. This doesn't diminish their uniqueness or yours, but it can help you respond to even difficult people with greater patience and compassion. When someone is being hostile or unreasonable, instead of taking it personally, you can remember that their behavior is arising from their disconnection from their own Buddha nature, their own cosmic intelligence and love. Your peaceful response might help them remember that connection, and their challenges might help you develop greater stability and compassion. Most importantly, recognizing Vairocana Buddha can help you discover that what you've been seeking outside yourself has been your own deepest nature all along. The peace, wisdom, and love that you long for are not foreign qualities that need to be imported from somewhere else, but are aspects of cosmic consciousness that can be accessed through learning to rest in the awareness that you already are. Buddhism describes what are called the three bodies, or trikaya, of Buddha, representing three different ways that enlightened consciousness manifests and can be experienced. Understanding these three aspects can help you recognize how ultimate truth appears in various forms that are all equally valid and mutually supportive. The Dharmakaya, or truth body, represents absolute reality itself, the formless awareness that underlies all appearances but cannot be captured by concepts or descriptions. This is Vairocana Buddha in the ultimate sense, the cosmic consciousness that is the source and ground of all existence but cannot be limited to any particular form or expression. When you experience moments of profound peace or clarity where all sense of separation dissolves, when you feel connected to something infinite and eternal that has no beginning or end, you're touching the Dharmakaya. This is not an altered state of consciousness, but the recognition of what consciousness most fundamentally is when it's not divided against itself through the creation of subject and object, self and other. The Dharmakaya is sometimes described as emptiness or void, but this doesn't mean nothingness. Rather, it's empty of all the limiting characteristics that we usually attribute to things, empty of permanence, independence, and separate existence. This emptiness is simultaneously fullness because it's pregnant with infinite potential for manifestation and expression. The Sambhogakaya, or enjoyment body, represents how absolute truth manifests in forms that can be perceived and appreciated by consciousness that has developed sufficient clarity and openness. This includes all the various Buddha figures described in Mahayana texts, including Vairocana Buddha, when depicted in cosmic form, surrounded by infinite universes and countless beings. The Sambhogakaya also includes the experiences of profound beauty, love, and understanding that arise when consciousness is sufficiently refined to perceive the sacred dimensions of existence. When you're moved to tears by music or poetry, when you feel overwhelmed by the beauty of a sunset or the love you feel for another being, when you have insights that seem to come from beyond your ordinary thinking mind, you're experiencing manifestations of the Sambhogakaya. These experiences are not separate from ultimate truth, but are ways that the formless Dharmakaya manifests in forms that can be appreciated and integrated by developing consciousness. They serve as bridges between absolute reality and relative experience, helping beings gradually recognize their fundamental Buddha nature. The Nirmanakaya, or transformation body, represents how enlightened consciousness manifests in ordinary forms that can interact directly with beings who are still identified primarily with conventional reality. The historical Buddha Shakyamuni is considered a Nirmanakaya manifestation, as are all enlightened teachers who appear in human form to guide others toward awakening. But Nirmanakaya manifestations are not limited to formally recognized spiritual teachers. Any person, situation, or experience that helps you grow in wisdom and compassion can be understood as a manifestation of enlightened activity. Your parents, teachers, friends, and even adversaries can all serve as Nirmanakaya manifestations when they provide exactly the challenges and opportunities you need for your development. Even difficulties and obstacles can be Nirmanakaya manifestations when they force you to develop patience, courage, and resilience that you wouldn't have cultivated otherwise. From this perspective, your entire life becomes a continuous teaching offered by cosmic consciousness to help you recognize your own Buddha nature. Contemporary psychology has developed similar understandings through what researchers call post-traumatic growth and meaning-making. Studies show that people who face significant challenges often develop greater empathy, deeper appreciation for life, stronger relationships, and more mature spiritual understanding than they had before their difficulties. This suggests that what Buddhism calls Nirmanakaya activity, where challenges serve awakening, reflects actual processes of human development. The integration of these three bodies suggests that ultimate reality is not separate from relative experience, but expresses itself through every level of manifestation. You don't need to choose between absolute understanding and practical engagement with daily life, between transcendent realization and caring about relative concerns. The three bodies of Buddha reveal that these are complementary aspects of complete awakening. This understanding can help you approach spiritual practice with both appropriate effort and relaxed confidence. You can work diligently to develop greater wisdom and compassion while recognizing that what you're trying to achieve is actually your fundamental nature that's already completely present. You can engage seriously with the challenges of daily life while maintaining perspective about their ultimate significance. The practical application is that you can begin to recognize all three bodies of Buddha in your current experience. The Dharmakaya is present as the awareness in which all experiences arise. The Sambhogakaya appears as moments of beauty, love, and insight that remind you of sacred dimensions of existence. The Nirmanakaya manifests as all the people and situations that provide opportunities for growth and awakening. By learning to perceive these three aspects of Buddha nature in your ordinary experience, you can transform everyday life into continuous spiritual practice. Every moment becomes an opportunity to recognize absolute truth, appreciate sacred beauty, and receive teachings that support your awakening and enable you to help others with their development. One of the most comforting and transformative aspects of the Vairocana Buddha teaching is the understanding that enlightened presence is not confined to particular locations or special circumstances, but pervades all of existence without exception. This means that wherever you are, whatever you're facing, you're never actually separated from cosmic wisdom and love. The Avatamsaka Sutra describes Vairocana Buddha as manifesting simultaneously in every atom of dust, every particle of matter, every moment of consciousness throughout infinite universes. This isn't just poetic exaggeration, but points to the actual omnipresence of awakened awareness that can be recognized when consciousness is sufficiently clear and open. This teaching addresses one of the deepest sources of human suffering, the feeling of being alone, abandoned, or cut off from sources of wisdom and support when facing life's inevitable challenges. Whether you're dealing with illness, relationship difficulties, financial stress, or existential questioning, the recognition that cosmic Buddha nature is completely present in your current situation can provide unshakable ground for confidence and peace. This doesn't mean that external circumstances don't matter or that you shouldn't work to improve difficult situations when possible. Rather, it means that your essential well-being and capacity for wise response don't depend on external conditions, but can be accessed through recognizing the enlightened awareness that underlies all experience. When you're stuck in traffic, cosmic consciousness is present as the awareness that can choose patience over frustration. When you're facing a difficult conversation, Buddha nature is available as the wisdom that can respond skillfully rather than reactively. When you're experiencing physical pain, the cosmic Buddha is present as the compassionate awareness that can hold suffering with tenderness rather than resistance. The omnipresence of Vairocana Buddha also means that every person you encounter is a manifestation of cosmic consciousness, regardless of how they're currently behaving or what level of awakening they've consciously realized. This understanding can transform how you relate to difficult people and challenging social situations. When someone is being hostile, manipulative, or inconsiderate, recognizing their fundamental Buddha nature doesn't mean approving of harmful behavior or failing to set appropriate boundaries. Rather, it means understanding that their difficult behavior arises from disconnection from their own cosmic wisdom and love. Your compassionate response might help them remember that connection, while their challenges help you develop greater stability and skill in responding to difficulty with wisdom. This recognition can be particularly healing for people who struggle with loneliness or feel disconnected from spiritual community or guidance. Instead of needing to find special teachers, sacred locations, or ideal circumstances to experience enlightened presence, you can discover that cosmic consciousness is completely available in whatever environment you currently inhabit. The elderly person in line at the grocery store might be offering you an opportunity to practice patience and kindness. The colleague who challenges your ideas might be helping you develop greater intellectual humility and openness to different perspectives. The child who interrupts your quiet time might be teaching you about spontaneity and presence. All of these can be recognized as manifestations of cosmic Buddha activity when approached with the right understanding. Contemporary research on what psychologists call sacred moments and spiritual experiences in daily life has found that people who learn to recognize transcendent dimensions in ordinary experiences report greater life satisfaction, resilience, and sense of connection than those who compartmentalize spiritual experience as separate from everyday life. Studies of contemplative practices across different traditions show that one of the most consistent effects of sustained meditation and prayer is an increased ability to perceive what practitioners describe as sacred presence in routine activities and common environments. This suggests that the omnipresence of cosmic consciousness described in texts like the Avatamsaka Sutra reflects genuine possibilities for human perception, rather than mere wishful thinking. The practical application of recognizing Vairocana Buddha's omnipresence is that you can begin to approach your entire life as occurring within sacred space. This doesn't require changing your external circumstances, but involves a shift in the quality of attention and appreciation you bring to whatever you're experiencing. You can experiment with recognizing cosmic consciousness in the simple activities of your day. When you're washing dishes, appreciate that the awareness guiding your hands is the same cosmic intelligence that guides the movement of stars and planets. When you're listening to a friend share their concerns, recognize that the compassion arising in your heart is a manifestation of the infinite love that underlies all existence. When you're facing difficulties, instead of feeling abandoned or overwhelmed, you can remember that these challenges are arising within cosmic consciousness that has unlimited creativity for finding solutions and infinite compassion for supporting you through whatever you need to face. This doesn't guarantee that external circumstances will change according to your preferences, but it can help you respond to whatever arises with greater wisdom, courage, and peace. The teaching of Vairocana Buddha's omnipresence ultimately reveals that what you've been seeking outside yourself has been completely present all along. The love, wisdom, and peace that you long for are not distant goals, but present realities that can be accessed through learning to recognize the cosmic consciousness that you already are and that pervades everything you encounter. Perhaps the most personally transformative aspect of the Vairocana Buddha teaching is the recognition that cosmic enlightenment is not something foreign to your nature, but is actually your deepest identity. What Buddhism calls Buddha nature, or Tathagatagarbha, refers to the inherent potential for complete awakening that exists within every conscious being, including you. This isn't just a philosophical concept, but points to something you can actually discover through careful attention to your own experience. Beneath all the thoughts, emotions, sensations, and mental activity that usually define how you think about yourself, there's aware presence that remains constant and unchanged. This awareness is not created by your thinking mind, but is the space in which all thinking arises and passes away. When you observe your thoughts, what is it that's doing the observing? When you're aware of being aware, what is that awareness itself? When you experience moments of profound peace or clarity, where all mental commentary stops, what remains? These questions point toward the Buddha nature that is your most fundamental identity, the cosmic consciousness that appears as your individual awareness. The recognition of Buddha nature can be both humbling and liberating. Humbling because it reveals that what you usually consider to be your wisdom, your love, and your peace are actually expressions of universal qualities that transcend individual identity. Liberating because it means you have access to resources for understanding and responding that are not limited by your personal history, education, or psychological patterns. This understanding can transform how you relate to your own development and potential. Instead of thinking you need to acquire wisdom, love, and peace from outside sources, you can recognize these as aspects of your fundamental nature that can be uncovered and expressed through removing the obstacles that prevent them from flowing freely. What are these obstacles? Generally, they consist of the various ways that consciousness becomes identified with limited patterns of thinking and feeling rather than recognizing its unlimited nature. When you think, I am anxious, rather than anxiety is arising in awareness, you're identifying consciousness with a temporary mental state. When you think, I am successful or I am a failure, you're identifying awareness with social roles and achievements that don't touch your deepest nature. Carl Jung, the pioneering psychologist, developed similar insights through his understanding of what he called the self, with a capital S, which he distinguished from the ego or personal identity. Jung recognized that psychological maturity involves discovering an identity that transcends personal concerns and connects to what he called archetypal or universal patterns of meaning and purpose. Jung also wrote about what he called the transcendent function, the capacity of consciousness to integrate apparent opposites and find creative solutions that transcend limiting either-or thinking. This mirrors the Buddhist understanding that Buddha nature has unlimited creativity for responding wisely to any situation when it's not constrained by habitual reactive patterns. Contemporary neuroscience has begun studying what happens in the brain during experiences that people describe as recognizing their true self or essential nature. Research shows that these experiences are often characterized by decreased activity in brain networks associated with self-referential thinking and increased activation in areas associated with present moment awareness and empathetic connection with others. Studies of meditation and other contemplative practices show that sustained attention training can lead to what researchers call trait changes, rather than just temporary state changes. This means that qualities like equanimity, compassion, and clarity that initially arise only during formal practice gradually become stable characteristics that persist throughout daily activities. But what does recognizing your Buddha nature mean for dealing with practical challenges, like difficult emotions, interpersonal conflicts, or major life transitions? First, it provides a stable foundation that remains unshaken regardless of changing circumstances. Your essential nature as cosmic consciousness can't be damaged by external events or personal mistakes, though it can be temporarily obscured by identification with limited patterns. When you're experiencing strong emotions like anger, fear, or sadness, instead of being completely overwhelmed or trying to suppress what you're feeling, you can learn to rest in the awareness that contains these emotions. The emotions are real and often contain important information, but you are the space in which they arise rather than being identical to them. This doesn't make difficult emotions disappear immediately, but it provides space to respond rather than just react. You can acknowledge what you're feeling while accessing the wisdom and compassion of your Buddha nature to determine how to respond most skillfully to whatever situation triggered the emotional response. In relationships, recognizing your own Buddha nature can help you recognize the same potential in others, even when they're behaving in ways that are difficult or hurtful. This doesn't mean enabling harmful behavior or failing to set appropriate boundaries, but it can help you respond to others' limitations with patience and understanding rather than judgment and retaliation. When facing major life decisions or transitions, you can learn to access the intelligence of your Buddha nature rather than relying only on analytical thinking or emotional impulses. This deeper wisdom often has access to information and perspectives that aren't available to ordinary problem-solving approaches, and it naturally takes into account not just your personal welfare, but the impact of your choices on others. The practical cultivation of recognizing your Buddha nature can begin with simple practices of self-inquiry and present moment awareness. You can occasionally ask yourself who is aware of this experience, or what remains constant while thoughts and emotions change. These questions can help you discover the aware presence that is your deepest identity. You can also practice approaching your daily activities from the perspective of your Buddha nature rather than your personal concerns. Instead of asking, "What do I want from this situation?" you might ask, "How can cosmic wisdom and love express themselves through this situation?" This shift in perspective often reveals creative possibilities that weren't apparent when you were focused solely on personal advantage. The ultimate gift of recognizing your Buddha nature is the discovery that what you've been seeking through external achievements, relationships, and experiences has been your own deepest nature all along. This doesn't make worldly engagement meaningless, but it can free you to participate in life from love rather than need, from wisdom rather than confusion, from joy rather than desperation. The recognition of Vairocana Buddha as your fundamental nature transforms every aspect of daily life into opportunities for expressing and celebrating cosmic consciousness. This doesn't require dramatic changes in your external circumstances or the adoption of formal religious practices, but involves a shift in the awareness and intention you bring to ordinary activities. When you understand that the consciousness reading these words is actually cosmic Buddha nature appearing as individual awareness, even the simplest activities become sacred practices. Eating becomes a celebration of the cosmic generosity that provides nourishment for countless beings. Working becomes an opportunity to contribute to the welfare of others while expressing your unique gifts and capabilities. Walking becomes meditation in motion, where each step is taken with appreciation for the earth that supports you and awareness of the cosmic intelligence that coordinates the countless physiological processes that make movement possible. Listening to others becomes practice in recognizing the Buddha nature that's trying to express itself through their words, even when those words arise from confusion or pain. This approach to daily life doesn't require perfection or constant spiritual awareness. Rather, it's about gradually developing greater sensitivity to the sacred dimensions that are already present in ordinary experience. When you forget this perspective and become caught up in reactive patterns, you can gently return to recognizing cosmic consciousness without judgment or self-criticism. One of the most practical applications is learning to approach difficulties and obstacles as opportunities for cosmic wisdom and compassion to express themselves through your responses. When you're facing a challenging situation at work, instead of immediately reacting from personal frustration or anxiety, you can pause and ask how Buddha nature might respond to these circumstances. This doesn't mean becoming passive or failing to address problems appropriately. Rather, it means accessing the unlimited creativity and love of cosmic consciousness to find responses that serve not just your immediate interests, but the well-being of everyone involved. You might discover solutions that weren't apparent when you were focused only on protecting your personal position. In relationships, living from Buddha nature means recognizing that every interaction is an opportunity for cosmic love to express itself through your words and actions. This transforms even routine conversations into opportunities for offering presence, understanding, and encouragement. It doesn't require being artificially positive or suppressing authentic responses, but it does involve expressing your authentic responses from the deepest place of wisdom and care. When someone is being difficult or unreasonable, instead of immediately defending yourself or counterattacking, you can remember that their behavior is arising from disconnection from their own Buddha nature. Your patient, compassionate response might help them remember that connection, while their challenges help you develop greater stability and skill in expressing love under pressure. The practice of recognizing Vairocana Buddha in daily life also transforms how you approach times of solitude and quiet reflection. Instead of seeing these as separate from your engagement with the world, you can understand them as opportunities to explicitly connect with the cosmic consciousness that underlies all your activities. Whether you're sitting in formal meditation, taking a quiet walk, or simply pausing to appreciate a moment of beauty, you can use these times to explicitly recognize your fundamental nature as cosmic Buddha nature. This recognition then naturally flows into your interactions and activities, bringing greater presence, wisdom, and compassion to everything you do. Contemporary research on what psychologists call self-transcendent experiences and their integration into daily life shows that people who learn to access expanded states of consciousness and then bring the insights from those experiences into ordinary activities report greater life satisfaction, more meaningful relationships, and increased sense of purpose than those who compartmentalize spiritual experience as separate from everyday life. Studies of contemplative practitioners across different traditions consistently find that the most psychologically healthy and socially effective practitioners are those who have learned to integrate their deepest insights into practical engagement with family, work, and community responsibilities rather than using spiritual practice as escape from worldly involvement. The key is understanding that recognizing Vairocana Buddha is not about achieving special states of consciousness, but about discovering the sacred nature of whatever consciousness you're already experiencing. You don't need to feel different or have particular experiences to begin living from Buddha nature. You can start by bringing greater attention and appreciation to whatever you're currently doing. When you're washing dishes, you can appreciate that the same cosmic intelligence that guides the rotation of galaxies is guiding the movement of your hands. When you're listening to music, you can recognize that the awareness appreciating beauty is cosmic consciousness, enjoying its own infinite creativity. When you're helping someone who is struggling, you can understand that cosmic love is expressing itself through your care and concern. The practice of living from Vairocana Buddha ultimately reveals that there's no separation between spiritual development and practical life, between personal growth and service to others, between individual awakening and cosmic consciousness. Your daily life becomes the natural expression of enlightened awareness, and your ordinary activities become offerings of wisdom and love to the interconnected web of existence that includes all beings. As we conclude our exploration of Vairocana Buddha, we discover that this ancient teaching offers both profound philosophical insights and immediately practical wisdom for transforming how you experience every aspect of your life. The cosmic Buddha represents not a distant religious figure, but the fundamental nature of consciousness itself, available to you in every moment regardless of your circumstances or background. We began by understanding Vairocana Buddha as the cosmic principle of enlightenment that underlies and pervades all existence, the universal intelligence and love that illuminates all consciousness like the sun, provides light and warmth for all life. This recognition can provide unshakable confidence that you're never separated from sources of wisdom and support, even in the midst of life's most challenging circumstances. Through exploring the three bodies of Buddha, we discovered how ultimate truth manifests in multiple forms that are all equally valid and mutually supportive. The formless truth body, the beautiful enjoyment body, and the practical transformation body reveal that spiritual realization includes transcendent understanding, appreciation of sacred beauty, and skillful engagement with ordinary responsibilities. We saw how the omnipresence of cosmic Buddha nature means that every person you encounter and every situation you face provides opportunities for recognizing enlightened awareness and expressing wisdom and compassion. This understanding can transform even difficult relationships and challenging circumstances into aspects of your spiritual path. Perhaps most importantly, we explored how Vairocana Buddha represents your own deepest nature, the cosmic consciousness that appears as your individual awareness, but is not limited by personal history, psychological patterns, or external circumstances. Recognizing this Buddha nature within yourself provides access to unlimited resources for understanding and responding wisely to whatever life presents. Finally, we discovered practical ways to integrate this recognition into daily life, transforming ordinary activities into expressions of cosmic wisdom and love. Every interaction becomes an opportunity to offer presence and understanding, every challenge a chance to develop greater patience and skill, every moment of beauty, an appreciation of the sacred creativity that underlies all existence. The teaching of Vairocana Buddha ultimately reveals that what you've been seeking through external achievements, special experiences, or ideal circumstances has been your own fundamental nature all along. This doesn't diminish the importance of practical engagement with life's responsibilities and opportunities, but it can free you to participate from love rather than need, from wisdom rather than confusion, from joy rather than anxiety about outcomes. You can begin embodying this understanding immediately by recognizing that the awareness in which you're receiving these ideas is itself cosmic consciousness, the intelligence that enables you to understand these concepts, the curiosity that draws you toward wisdom, the love that connects you to other beings. These are all expressions of Vairocana Buddha manifesting as your individual experience. This recognition doesn't require you to change your external circumstances, adopt new beliefs, or perform particular practices, though all of these might naturally flow from deeper understanding. What it does require is a willingness to question your assumptions about who you are and what's possible, and an openness to discovering that reality is far more intelligent, loving, and supportive than you may have imagined. The Cosmic Buddha is not asking you to become someone different from who you are, but to discover who you most deeply are beneath all the layers of conditioning and self-concept that usually define your identity. You don't need to acquire cosmic consciousness because you already are cosmic consciousness appearing in human form. You don't need to find enlightenment because enlightenment is already present as the awareness that can recognize its own nature. Thank you for joining me in this exploration of one of the most profound and transformative teachings in all spiritual literature. May the recognition of Vairocana Buddha bring comfort when you're facing difficulties, inspiration when you're seeking meaning, and joy when you're celebrating life's beauty. May you discover in your own deepest nature the cosmic wisdom and love that can respond skillfully to any situation and contribute meaningfully to the welfare of all beings. In recognizing Vairocana Buddha, you join an ancient tradition of beings who have discovered that individual awakening and cosmic consciousness are not separate achievements, but are two aspects of the same fundamental reality. Your personal growth serves the awakening of all consciousness, and the awakening of all consciousness supports your individual development. This is the profound gift and responsibility of recognizing who you truly are, and it's a recognition that can transform not just your own life, but contribute to the healing and awakening of our world.